We are live. Welcome to today's session of Can We Talk with Teacher Moss. My guest today is Denise Major, and we're here to talk about sex education. So, we're going to get started today with our session.
Hi. Yeah.
Welcome to our session today. And as we have transitioned into back to school mode, we thought it would be good to talk about sex education in schools. So today I've welcomed my guest, Denise Major, to talk about this topic, and we're going to dissect this for today. I would like to pass the virtual mic to our guest so that she can introduce herself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Denise Major. I am a sexual health and rights educator and advocate. Um, it sounds like a lot, but pretty much I go into the schools, communities, um, wherever I'm needed or asked for or called for to break down the topic of sex for whomever is interested. But now that we're in back to school season, it's my time to meet your lovely darlings in the school system. Mother, grandmother, aunt, advocate, writer, all of that good stuff. That's me.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And before we begin, if you're tuning in from our social media page and you just joined us, like and share this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links on our page. We need your support to continue these talks. Also, if there's something that you think we should be talking about, feel free to let us know. We do want to hear from you. Let us know if you would like to advertise on our platform or sponsor our program. And here's our disclaimer. I also want to express that the views shared by our guests does not necessarily reflect our views, but are entirely the views of our guests and reflect our guests. And so, with that, we're going to get into our session. So, we're we want to talk about sex education, and as a sex educator, educator and advocate, how do you define sex education?
Well, it's pretty simple. Sex education is the teaching and learning of a wide variety of topics. Usually, when we say sex education, your mind just goes to the act of having sex, penetration in any which way. But it actually covers more than that. We cover human development, we cover relationships, personal skills, sexual behavior is included, as well as sexual health, and we talk about society and culture. So, all of that is included in the gamut when we talk about sex education.
Thank you for explaining. And we want to talk about sex education and school. So, what is your view of sex education as it pertains to the school system and how it is presented in the school system?
Well, each school has their different belief systems um, in terms of what they want to be taught to the students or their children. And I think parents choose that school based on the belief system. So if you're not so fortunate to afford or even want your child to go to a private school, um, little that we know or choose to believe, and I find this odd that parents are seemingly unaware that is being taught to their kids. So, under the family life curriculum as well as religious studies curriculum, um, quite a few of the topics that I mentioned before are being taught. But like I said, each school is different. It really boils down to the teacher's beliefs and comfort level, which it really shouldn't be all the time, but the curriculum is there. More can always be done, but I understand as individuals, there is some level of discomfort in talking about sex with somebody else's child. Shoot, some of us are uncomfortable talking about sex with our own children. So some schools are awesome at it, some schools still have quite a bit of work to do.
Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned that it the topic can be a little off a little off-putting for some persons in talking about it with their kids. And so we're gonna get into that today. I just wanted to mention James Lowe. He said he's watching from Nassau, Bahamas. Welcome, James. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you have any comments, feel free to send your comments in. We would love to hear from you. And we want to talk about culture and sex education. Do you believe that our culture impacts the delivery of effective sex education in the school system? And how do you think our culture impacts the delivery or presentation of sex ed in schools?
Well, we all know that the Bahamas is a Christian nation, quote unquote. Um, but although we are a Christian nation, there's very our culture is very sexually energized, if I can say that. Our music, there are sexual undertones in the food that we eat, sexual names in the drinks, all of that. So it's sort of hypocritical. Um, it's sort of, but it plays an influence. I personally feel that we are struggling to find the balance in teaching sexual education to our kids. We have the super uber Christians that feel as though it shouldn't be mentioned at all, and if we mention it, we're going to hell, or it's going to encourage our children to have sex earlier. And then on the flip side of that, we have persons who may be exposing their children too much too soon. So I feel as though we're some cases we're finding the balance, but there's still a struggle to find the balance because we it's what it is. What do they say? Do as I say, not as I do. So we're saying one thing, they're telling our kids one thing and doing something totally different. We saw it just this week where we had such a display of violence in terms of sexual relationships or intimate partner relationships. And again, we're saying, do as I say, not as I do. So it can be confusing at times, especially to our young people. What is it that you want me to do? Um, and then we hold them back a lot as well. We keep them in a box and expect them to miraculously one day turn 18 and 21 and just know what to do and how to live without them being taught. So we have some struggles because I feel of our culture, but we're working through them, and it's baby steps. We're taking baby steps. We're working through them slowly. I can see the improvement and growth over the years. I've been doing this for 10 years now, so I see the improvement and growth over the years. I'm seeing it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to shout out Vivian Peter from Jamaica. Thank you, Vivian, for joining us. I'm so happy to have you here with us today. And you talked about Vivian, let's say about your culture in Jamaica. If you could drop in a comment in terms of how the impact of your culture and sex education within the school system within Jamaica, I would love to hear your take on that. And so you talk about our culture or having an impact, and you talk about the fact that we are within our community or we hear the saying all the time. Clearly, there is a culture of sex. There's a culture of sex within our culture. So why is there such a struggle? Why do you think there's such a struggle to translate that to I know you talked about some persons that there's a balance in terms of not bringing in sex education too early because you don't want our kids to get into those activities too soon. But then how do we prepare them and how do we equip them for something that they may, prepare them for, you know, sex, the world of sex. So when it's too soon, and I mean, how do we capture them? So I want us to get into the age, um, the appropriate age to talk about sex education, basically.
See, once we understand what sex education is, we will understand that there's never such a thing as too soon. A part of teaching your child the proper names of their anatomy, penis, vagina, breasts, butt, anus, those things, that's a part of sex education. Teaching your child who is good touches and bad touch, who is supposed to touch you, um, how to interact with their peers, what's appropriate or inappropriate to do. All of that is a part of sex education. Even when I talk to the kids in the upper high school and when I ask them, when I say sex education, what do they think of? They immediately think of the act of having sex. But sex education is more than that. When we're talking about puberty, that's a part of sex education. Um, Relationships, healthy and unhealthy relationships, relationships with your family, your friends, romantic relationships, all of that is a part of sex education. Teaching each other, teaching our kids how to communicate effectively, that no, it's not okay to throw tantrums, or how to ask for things, teaching them about boundaries. So, this is not something you teach them at 15, 16, 17. You teach them these things as young as 1, 2. So it begins at when the child can understand, and that's about 1, 2-ish, and you're teaching them the proper names and stuff like that. But all of that is what encompasses sex education and making sure it's age appropriate. And the earlier we start, the better. I We turn a blind eye to it. Our children are being molested. Our children are being abused. Our children are being taken advantage of. We have to protect them, and we have to start at an early age. And teaching them these things is all a part of sex education. Whether we want to call it that or not, all of that is a part of sex education. So to answer the question, as early as 1, 2, and that's again teaching them the name, the proper, not the poo poo or the lala or the pee pee. Teach them the correct names of their anatomy. Teach them who's supposed to touch them. Teach them how to say no when they feel uncomfortable. Teaching them how to share. Teaching them how to communicate. All of that is a part of sex education.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Vivian, thank you for your comment. I'm going to get to you. But I'm glad that you mentioned that because you would have some persons who would say 1 or 3 years old is a bit too young to start introducing sex or talking about sex education. But you mentioned that it's incremental steps. So
Yeah.
you start off small, and I like that you talk about you don't have to camouflage the word in a sense, la la and all those other words, but use the correct um,
Yes.
terminology so that they would be familiar with it. So I'm glad that you say that. But what do you say to those persons who say one a baby 1 years old?
Go back.
So I'm gonna get to the comment. Share Vivian comment. She says, "Good afternoon to you both. It is taught in HFLE. Is that high school?
Health and
Vivian?
family life.
Oh, Health and Family Life. Okay.
Yeah.
But young people are very knowledgeable about sex, not in an appropriate way. And to me, the society is too sexualized now. I'm not sure if you're referring to the entire Caribbean or if you're referring to your culture in Jamaica, but please, you could
I think it's
clarify.
Caribbean. I think
Okay,
we as Caribbean, we are overly sexualized.
sexualized. And
Yeah.
she says that yes, our children are being molested and taken advantage of sexually at an early age, and hence why it's so important to provide this information to them. You have any comments on those comments?
I mean, I agree with her. We are over as Caribbean, as black people, we would see our black girls, our black daughters, our black nieces, and they are overly sexualized. When we look at them, oh, she look good, eh? Oh, that's some body on her. Why are we looking at a child with those eyes? Why are we sexualizing our children? Even with young boys, I'm seeing it more and more. The back to school pictures. Oh, I'll come bring you I'll bring you lunch. I'll buy you a pair of shoes. We say these things so casually, and we take it for granted that hey, these are children that we're speaking about and speaking to. And when they start acting the same way, mimicking us, we see it's a problem then. But this is learned behavior. Where are they learning it from?
Yeah, I was a little disturbed. I saw some of those comments in
Yeah.
some of the back to school posts or some of the back to school jiggy dances, and I saw the comments under the videos on TikTok, and I'm like, are these adults talking to kids?
Yep.
Yeah, so
Adults, and they
yeah,
see nothing wrong about it because they're talking to a young man. No, it's just
yeah,
as wrong as talking to a girl. It's wrong across the board.
definitely, definitely. And so, what role do parents, sorry, play in the delivery of sex education, preparing kids to receive this information in the school system? And as a sex educator, what role do you play in presenting or delivering sex education in the school system?
The role that I should play is reinforcing what is taught at home. Ideally, I my role, me as a parent, I would love for the first information, life lessons, or anything that's being taught to my children to first come from me, and the school reinforces my belief systems or my values or even information. Parents in the school are supposed to work hand in hand. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen in most cases. We have girls coming to school, and their period comes on and they think they're dying because no one ever explained to them what a period was and what to expect. Again, it's that simple. We have boys who are touching girls inappropriately, who are behaving inappropriately amongst themselves. Again, because it wasn't taught at home. I applaud my teachers. Now that I'm in the school system more often, working side by side with teachers and guidance counselors, I see. Before I used to look at it as from the parent perspective. My kids are older now, so I get to see both sides. Um, and these teachers have a task at hand because they're now teaching things that should have been taught at home. They're not teaching math and English, math, English, science, and all of that. They're teaching those subjects on top of things that should be taught at home. And again, not everyone is as fortunate to have that stability at home. And we get that, we understand that. But parents and teachers should work hand in hand. That's the role parents should play. Not come into the school all upset and hot and bothered because, oh, y'all talking to my child. If you had spoken to your child, there's nothing I could say that could change their mind. I have had children who, young adults, who stood toe to toe to me. Well, my mommy said that's not right, or my mommy said, and I agree with them. If this is what your parent says, and I'm talking about morals and values, I am not here to dissuade or to persuade them into anything that's against their morals. Basic education, basic notebook, black and white education. Now, if this is what you believe in, and let's use sex before marriage as an example. My mommy said we can't have sex before marriage. So the conversation would be, well, some people decide to do that. Well, that doesn't work for me. I applaud you, and I applaud, and you stand firm in that. So like things that those type of interactions are encouraged when it comes to me. But I want you to understand that not everyone has your same beliefs and values. But I applaud you for doing it, and I want you to stand by it. So again, we're not trying to persuade the children otherwise, but In order for that to happen, the children have to come with something. You have to teach them something. If you're not teaching them anything at home, anyone can tell them anything. And again, we teach children to use their voices as well, because some children are, again, being said earlier as well, they're being sexually assaulted, they're being molested at home. So school is that safe space for them. We have schools, we have teachers, we have pedophiles in the schools. Home should be a safe space for them. We need to be teaching our children to use their voices, to speak up and speak out, and teach them that confidence to do so. So it goes hand in hand.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I want to get to the Fran's comment, and she says, we live in a society where females are not looked at as predators. That's why women or female predators are so comfortable with talking about dating young boys in our country. What are your thoughts on that
That's
comment?
true. That's true. I totally agree with that. We think it's cute. We laugh at it. We tell our boys, stop being punk, stop being a sissy. Like we say these things to our young men, when if the roles were reversed and it was a man preying on our daughters or a young woman, we'd be up in arms. So I totally agree with that. We are too comfortable with women are not accepting that women are predators as well. Each gender are predators and they prey on both sexes. We have women that prey on women and girls and boys, and men who prey on girls and boys, and it's about control. It's not even about lust, or it's about control and power. And we need to call it out when we see it. I don't care if it's your friend, family, whomever. Call it out when you see it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I saw some of that in some of the back to school videos on TikTok, and I saw a lot of women commenting under some of the school boys posts, and felt quite comfortable doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a little bit scary.
Yep. It's disturbing.
Yeah, or concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, recommendations, are there any recommendations that you can offer as it relates to ensuring the effective presentation or delivery of sex education within our school system?
Um, Again, I think our teachers are doing an awesome job. And we're having worked in both primary and high schools, as well as some colleges, and interacting with teachers of various levels. I am glad that they're comfortable with saying, hey, I need help with this presentation. Hey, I don't understand it fully. Can you come and help me? Our teachers are using the resources that they have, and I want to encourage them to continue to do it. They don't have to do it on their own. I Organizations that I work with, we personally offer programs that can assist parents who need help. So, assisting parents, teachers, that's what we do. So, parents don't have to do it on their own, teachers don't have to do it on. Resources are available there, and they are using them, and I want them to continue to use them.
Thank you for adding that. And we've come to our fast talk segment, and we wanna ask you, give you 60 seconds to answer these questions. And we wanna ask you, our first question is, why do you think it is important to teach sex education in the school system?
If we don't teach it there, the children are going to suffer. Our children need to be taught what they are learning at home, and in some cases are not learning at home, has to be taught in school. And it should be taught somewhere where they can be in a safe space. School is about education, sex education is a part of it.
What would you say to individuals who believe that sex education should not be taught in the school system?
Should not be taught. I mean, come on, it's 2023. Wake up. Wake up. If we were doing such a great job at home, we would not still be seeing the high cases of incest, rape, abuse, sweethearting. We would not be seeing these things. Um, Parents cannot do it on their own. I am such a firm believer in the village, and the school is your village. Increase your village, utilize your village, utilize resources that you have. You cannot do it on your own.
And as a sex educator, observing the how sex education is taught in the school system, do you believe that any changes should be made in the what how it is presented, how it is delivered in the school system?
I would like for more time to be given for that family life, religious knowledge type class that they usually throw it in. Um, Far too often, we treat it as though it's not an important subject, and it really is an important subject. Um, Too often, classes can be brushed aside or replaced. Oh, let's have an assembly. Oh, let's, you know, it's not respected as it should be. And this is important life tools that these kids are learning. So I would like for it to be respected a bit more, across the board. I want it to be taken more seriously across the board, because this is a very important component of a human being's life. So we should treat it with more respect and treat it more seriously.
Thank you for answering those questions. And I definitely agree with what you said in terms of having more time devoted to the subject matter, because I remember, and I don't even know if it's the same now, but I remember in high school the last hour, or it's just a short time that was devoted to talking about family life, and even within the family life, because sex education would come within that subject. But
Hmm.
even within family life, there was only a certain amount of time that was devoted to talk about that particular topic. And I would see there were students in the class who wanted to ask questions. First and foremost, they felt uncomfortable asking questions. And secondly, when they did, it wasn't enough time to really go into really talking about the questions, or really giving really devoted to answering the questions that they had, because the time was so short. And so it's definitely more time is required to be devoted to talking about this heavy topic, because again, like you said, we live in a culture where it's evident that it's very sexualized. So how can we translate that and preparing our students to safe sex education.
Hmm.
Safe sex methods. How do we deliver this information, translate this information to our students? Because this is very, very important.
I'm
Do you have
noticing
any
we
other
like to
comments you would like to add?
I'm noticing we like to do these one-off seminars where
Yeah,
300 girls and 300 boys, and someone comes to
yeah,
speak at them for one
you're
hour,
right.
and that's it. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah,
You need
yeah,
more than that. And yes, the classes
yeah,
are there,
definitely.
but, and like I said, our teachers are doing an amazing job, but it's a mammoth task. I've seen teachers, shoot, I've been there where the kids have extra questions, and I know I have somewhere to go, and I'm looking like, okay, but I'm going to
Exactly.
stay
Yeah,
and
right.
answer their questions. And we look at it, that's not the teacher's job, but they have to do it because they aren't going to get the information, or they're not getting the information anywhere else. So that's why I also said it goes hand in hand. We have to work hand in hand with our parents. When the teachers call you, come in. This our child. One thing I can applaud my children's teachers on, this our child, straight up from K straight up to high school. Shoot, even college. How our boy doing? How our girl doing? And yes, that means this one teacher is going to have hundreds of children, but that's what they signed up for. And I think they love it. I think they love it deep down. But we need to respect them as well and work with them. Don't just throw it at them to do it on their own.
Definitely. And you talk about that seminar that they usually have to talk about sex education. You have one speaker that is dedicated to 300, 400 students. So usually 10, maybe it's grade 10 through 11, or maybe just grade
Hmm.
11 and 12. And how are you going to be able to reach all of those students and then be able to answer their questions and then be able to devote time to them and then reach out to those students who may not be comfortable asking questions in a room full of other persons? And so you have all of these factors that need to be considered when we talk about delivering this subject matter, delivering this
Yeah.
content to our students. There's so many different factors involved, and you certainly cannot get the best out of you certainly cannot deliver the subject in the most effective way in a large group of persons like that. I mean, it's good to have a broad conversation, but in terms of really dissecting that topic amongst a large audience, amongst a large group like that, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be extremely difficult. And so to really get this topic and deliver it effectively to our young people and deliver it to our students, it really requires a lot of persons, relevant stakeholders, those who are involved sitting at the table and really coming to an understanding of how best to deliver this content.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any comments to add.
And then, like you mentioned, utilizing our stakeholders. The Fran Smith, who was on earlier, who made a comment earlier, she has an awesome program called SAFE, and it teaches children self-defense techniques, um, and stuff like that, how to stay safe. We have to know what resources are available out there, and it's not that hard to find out. Just talk about it. I mean, right now we're talking about it now, and I mentioned our organization. Ask someone. There are many resources available that if you're really interested, once you bring it up, I'm sure someone is able to answer you. So we have to utilize the resources that are available.
I agree. I agree. We need to utilize those resources that are available to us, to help us, to support delivering this information. And we do have great resources out there. And what's the name of, you said is the name of the
Her
organization is
organization is called SAFE. I'm sorry, LaFran, if I get it wrong. If you're on, type it in. But it's called SAFE, SAFE, and it stands for something. I'm so sorry, LaFran. I should know this, but that was unintended. But
yeah,
it's safe.
definitely,
Yeah, it's
definitely.
safe. LaFran Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I can
Mhm.
share with you and you can post it on the page or something.
Yeah, so that's powerful. Let me pull it up. I see she
Yes.
commented. So that's
Safe.
safe
Yes.
abuse, stop abuse for everyone. Um I would love to hear um the mission and purpose of the organization if she can share in the comments,
It's an
because
awesome program.
it seems like it's very important. Is it in the schools
I think she just has sessions on the weekends. So I think she's
on the
building up to
weekends?
that. Yeah, I think it's like a 6 to 8 week. She can explain it. Type it in the comments to Fran. I think it's like a 6 to 8 week program where the kids come in, they learn self defense and other techniques and other skills. So it's an amazing program. I would love for persons to get involved with that.
So can you tell us about your program empowering
The
the
Empower Group.
empowerment group? Hmm.
Okay, so two core programs that we have going on are our Love Smart program, where we go into the schools and we talk about healthy and unhealthy relationships. So we target mostly senior high, well, even high school, junior high, grade 7 through 12. But we have seen the need over the years and we have begun reaching out to primary school students. So our primary school component, upper primary grades 4 to 6. So we talk about hygiene, proper hygiene, what to expect, navigating relationships. And again, it's all age appropriate. In fact, we're getting ready to go to Abaco um, October 11th and 12th. We're planning on taking kits, hygiene kits for the kids. So if you want to donate to that, just donate hygiene products, um, sanitary items, soaps, towels, stuff like that. Stuff young people would use. Stuff that we need as humans to keep clean. And we teach them from an early age because a lot of them, unfortunately, for whatever reason, aren't being taught or it's not sticking. And we provide them with hygiene kits. My guest speakers are coming November 17th to the 21st. That's Valerie Williams and Laurie Brinson. When they come over, we target the senior high schools. They're both domestic abuse and rape survivors. We have a whole day conferences. We go, and that's the Love Smart School Tour. I do that twice a year, February and November. The reason we do it in November because October is abuse month, but we're also busy with our own programs, so we push it to November, right before the schools get ready to close. A lot of our children, a lot of our teens, a lot of our young people are in toxic and unhealthy relationships. They are in these relationships, they're struggling, they're suffering, and their parents don't know because they're hiding these relationships. And it's not just intimate partner relationships, but some of the friendships they're in are extremely toxic. Like the people y'all calling friends, y'all really should not be calling friends. Y'all and we talk about these things. It's not all just sex and romance and love. It's about interpersonal relationships, developing who you are as an individual, giving you the confidence you need to be who God has called you to be, or who you are destined to be. So those are the two main components of the program: the Love Smart tour, and then our visits to the schools for the upper primary students.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Have you connected with Philippa Dean from the Dignified? Yeah.
Yes, I have. Philippa
Okay.
Dean has been an awesome partner over the
Yeah, she's
years.
very good.
Over the
Yeah.
years. So we're partnering as we speak. We have something coming up. I'm going to wait for her to announce it. Um, but yeah, she has been an awesome partner over the years, an awesome support. I have presented at her my period, my Pride conference that she has every year, and she has worked along with me in presenting um, hygiene, well, portions of the hygiene kits to
Yeah.
some of the school students. So that's
Yeah,
another program
definitely.
that's out there that people may not know of.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very good. Very good
Yeah.
with that. Yeah. So I want to get to the Fran um safe organization. And she says that the organization raises awareness of violence against children in the Bahamas, child abuse, bullying, and the recruitment of young men and women into gangs. She says that they have 14 week free self defense program for children ages 4 through 16. And during the 14 weeks, children also take part in lectures on child abuse, bullying, and gang violence. So I don't know when this program is offered. I don't know if it's during the summer, but thank you
I
so
think
much.
it's ongoing. I think a cycle is coming up soon. I
Okay,
saw
so it's a
that
continuous cycle.
yeah, she has breaks in between each cycle. But I want to mention, even though it's offered free to the kids, there are expenses involved.
Yeah,
So reach out to her and find out how you can donate to the program. We see free and think these things just
yeah,
magically
yeah,
appear. No,
yeah,
there are expenses involved, and we have awesome donors out there. But a lot of the stuff coming out of our pocket.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So there are many ways you can support. You can support with your finances. You can donate. You can do in-kind donations, and just support with your time even. And there are many great organizations: the Empowerment Group, SAFE, the Dignified Girls Project, Rise Bahamas, um, Lend a Hand Bahamas. There, Everyone Counts organization. There are many great organizations out there, and even within the schools, find out what's happening in your child's school that they can be involved in and that you can be involved in as a parent as well.
Definitely, definitely. That is very important to provide that example
Hmm.
for your kids to see you actively involved in supporting these organizations. So LaFran Smith says that we started our third cycle in
Yeah.
August and our next cycle starts in March 2024. Thank you so
Okay.
much, LaFrange, for sharing safe organizations, and thank you, Denise, for sharing all of those other very important organizations that help to support some of our vulnerable groups within our community. And so we want to get back to talking about sex education in the school system. And are there any additional comments as we wind down and complete to the close to the end of our session? Are there any additional comments that you would like to add?
I just want to encourage everyone to call out abuse of all forms when they see it. It's not a joke. I mean, as simple as the events this past week, we made a big joke out of it, but it's really serious. Someone actually lost their lives. Someone actually lost their life. Someone is in jail now. And a lot of these behaviors start from children and never were corrected or never were pointed out, say, hey, that's wrong. Hey, that there's another way you can go. Sex education is more than the physical act of having sex. It's developing the whole person. I listed the many different topics associated. Um, Even if you want to come in and be, don't leave it to your school to educate your child. Come in, have a conversation with the teacher, have a conversation with the guidance counselor. Find out what they're teaching your children. Let them know your views. You can sit in on a class in some instances, not all schools, but get involved. Ask your children, have conversations with them, ask them what they learn in school, like, and don't get mad about it, but ask and be informed. Ask from a place of concern as well as wanting yourself to be informed. Our children are going to find out some way. Do you want it to be from you or another responsible adult, or you want them to find out from the internet or from their parents? A bunch of children who don't do nothing, sharing tips and techniques to do something that they know nothing of. Like, be more involved. And it's okay when, even as a 40-year-old, 50-year-old adult, if you don't know something, ask. It's okay. It's okay not to know something. It's okay to ask questions. Every day we learn something new.
Absolutely, absolutely, that is true. And these discussions, they need to be had. We need to have these conversations. It's very important. And like you said, are you do you that your kids are going to find out? So, do you want them to find out on over the internet, or do you want to have that conversation with them that you could probably have that is more controlled? Um, and I recently saw and this is why it's so important for us to have these conversations. I recently saw um, online recent incident with I think the boy, he was about 17. Thank you so much, Vivian. Vivian said, great program in the Bahamas. Which one are you referring to, Vivian? Thank you so much. I recently saw a young guy. He was about 17, high school student in a relationship. I think his girlfriend, she was 16, and she left him or they broke up, and he set on fire. He set on fire. And so some of these children, these students, they're in relationships. Now we don't know
Hmm.
if these are sexual relationships, but they're in relationships. And if they have boyfriend or they have girlfriends, and if he can react in that way, that means that these conversations need to be had. I don't know why he felt empowered to set on fire, but she had to be airlifted somewhere to get her burns treated. So I don't know how a young person gets to that point. Okay. Oh, the one on self defense. Vivian said. Thank you so much, Vivian.
Safe.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah. So these conversations, when I see situations like that, and I see a young person, just 17 years old, lashing out and reacting like that, and someone made the comment and they said, "Imagine when he gets 30." Because
But
you're
the
ready to
thing
throw a
is,
fire on someone. You're ready in a love situation, and you setting someone on fire at 17 years old. Where are you gonna be when you're 30?
I'm seeing it now at younger ages. The reason I love to bring Valerie and Laurie in as well, they're both from Georgia and Florida, relatively close to us. And these kids, children under the age of 18 are killing each other. They're killing themselves. They're losing their lives. But I don't want us to sleep on this. It's happening here. They're not killing each other, but they come in very well close. They're stabbing, they're choking each other out, they're punching and fighting, breaking up phones, breaking up laptops. It's happening. The youngest I have seen was grade 6, and they thought it was normal. So grade 6, how old are you? 11, 10, 11. And I was like mind blown. And they're doing this junior high school, senior high school, and they're doing it because somewhere, somehow, along the line, it's normalized to them that this type of toxic, harmful behavior is normalized to them. It's okay to curse at somebody. It's okay to feel as though you own somebody. It's okay to put your hands on somebody. This is a learned behavior.
And so, could you imagine someone coming along and saying, "Oh no, they don't need to be taught. They don't need to be taught certain. They are here doing these things," and then someone comes along and say, "It's too early to teach them those things.
I've
We don't
I
talk to them."
a parent called me from a school where children were caught engaging in sexual activity in school, on school campus, full blown sex. I reached out to the school. The school told me, asked me to come in to speak on abstinence and abstinence only. I said, y'all not gonna waste my time like that. I'm not doing it. I referred them to someone else. I said, you're not gonna waste my time. You're not. I said, your children are already being caught red-handed having sex on the school campus. We already know this is happening, and you only want to speak about this. Take off the blinders, open your eyes. Yes, and the funny thing is abstinence is included in all conversations, but when you want me to stop just at abstinence alone, I'm not going to do it. I'm not. I can refer you to someone who can do it, but it won't be me. You're not going to waste my time. I'm sorry. Especially when I know what is happening, or that something has happened. And that's your right. You don't have to have me. I'm good. I'm good. I know I have quite a few friends who are great at what they do. So I can refer them to you. We need to take the blinders off. We need to open our eyes.
Definitely, LaFran is saying, let's be realistic about the topic. You cannot start and stop with abstinence. Absolutely, it's scary. So as we come to the end of our session, do you have any additional comments that you would like to add before we close?
I think we covered it. I think we covered it.
So when you talk, oh, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead. You had something you
No,
wanted to
no,
say.
go ahead. No, I said we're done. I'm done. I think we covered everything.
Okay. So I want to. Okay. So we you talked about some organizations who are giving back to our community, and we here. Can we talk with Deirdre Moss? We want to help too. We want to give back to. I had persons reach out to me, um, asking about jobs and different things, and so we wanna reach out and support those persons. So we have a segment called Helping Hands. We want to reach out and support those persons. So I'd like to introduce our Helping Hands segment. So this is a moment that is being dedicated to help those in need. There are times when individuals reach out to seek assistance for a job, whatever it may be, whatever the case may be. And if this platform can assist in any way we can, we will do that. So we want to feature those who wish to connect with individuals who want and are willing to lend a helping hand during this segment. There are persons who don't want to help, and there are persons who do. So if you do want to help, we do want to hear from you. And so if you'd like to assist us in reaching someone, use the contacts that we provided on our page and let us lend a helping hand. And so we've come to the end of our session. Again, I want to throw it. I'm going to get to this last comment. And Denise, if you want to add anything, feel free to do so. Vivian Pitter says, one child is exposed, preaching abstinence alone is useless. Once the child is exposed, preaching abstinence alone is useless. Yeah. Yeah. Exposure is real because we have all these elements that come into play that kids have access to, and they know how to operate it better than the adults. I see 3, 4 year olds on YouTube, but I guess they have parental guidelines, so I don't even know how that works, but I
Really?
see.
Really? You think the parental guidelines are at play? Really? I love your hope.
I see
I
the
love your
babies
hope.
on TikTok.
Listen, I've
Huh?
seen babies pick up and they flipping a call coming through and they hanging up the call to get back to their videos. Like
Exactly.
these some new children. They new.
Yes, this.
They're very new.
Yeah, very
So
new
yeah,
school. Yeah. They know how to find these apps. They know how to get online. They know exactly what to do to get
yeah.
to where they need to be.
And we
Yeah.
have to be so careful with that because on these apps and on these websites there's always some type of porn pop up or something
Yes.
that's inappropriate.
Exactly. These
How
pop
many of us
ups.
are actually engaging these tools, these safety tools and measures on our devices? Are we just giving the child the phone? I know my phone don't have
Exactly.
no parental control, so no child should be allowed to go through anything on my phone because there's no parental control. So are we
Hmm.
just giving our children our phones without installing any of these safety apps on them? And in most cases we are. We
Yep.
are.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Miss Denise, I want to thank you for joining us today as our resident sex educator. We're so happy to have you join us for this session. And this brings us to the end. But we want to come back to this. But this brings us to the end of this particular session. I want to thank our guests for tuning in, thank our viewers for watching and joining us in our talk today. I would like to thank our guest Denise Major for sharing insight with us today, sharing our organizations. We want to remind you that if you want to advertise with us, let us know. You can also reach out to us through our page. Our contacts are there and available. We want to grow, so grow with us. To those who are watching on social media, thank you for listening in. Like our page for future talks and future notifications. Comment under our videos. Let us know your thoughts. We want to hear from you. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk with Deidre Moss. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, using the addresses provided on our page. And remember, let's think, talk, do. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.